grilling an officer because, they had an excessive force complaint against them. That's discriminating against them, and they're protected by the Policeman's Bill of Rights. But yeah, if you just Google law enforcement officers' Bill of Rights, crafted by the Grand Lodge of the Fraternal Order of Police, and like I said, they're the largest police union in the country, and they have unions in most of the large cities in the country. But there are also hundreds of other cities that don't use the FOP's Bill of Rights for the special, super, ultra, extra rights for law enforcement. But these municipalities have their own, or states have their own special Bill of Rights for law enforcement officers that they basically made addendums to the Fraternal Order of Police's version, but it's all basically the same thing. Like these special versions of the Bill of Rights. Oh, you're just laughing?
No, I was going to say that is really fascinating. You know a lot of stuff. I hadn't ever heard any of this before. I grew up with the movies and the police shows and all that, and it's part of, I feel, that societal conditioning that I was exposed to, and probably it still goes on, that when somebody actually says, I refuse to talk without a lawyer, that societal conditioning automatically makes me think, if I'm watching a movie or something, oh, they're guilty. I mean, do you know what I mean? It's like I grew up with the idea, if you have nothing to hide, then don't worry about it. But what you were saying,
right,
and it makes sense, anything you say can and will be used against you. But still there's that societal conditioning, and I guess that's exactly what it is, societal conditioning, so that people automatically won't move into that space. Because you know what? If you ask for a lawyer, then you're just saying you're guilty. I mean, that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, that has to do with our society, and it's something that's deep-seated. I think America has basically a cultural Stockholm syndrome, if you know what I'm referring to. Stockholm syndrome is a psychological phenomenon that was first discovered in the 1970s. It's basically like when someone holds somebody else hostage.
Right. The hostage ends up wanting to protect the person who abducted them.
Yes. And identify with their hostage taker. And I think America has cultural Stockholm syndrome. Like for instance, when I talked about the special, super, ultra, extra, that's my sarcastic, personality popping out there. But when I talked about the special version of the Policeman's Bill of Rights, you could talk to 100 people on the street, and not one of them would be able to mention that or even know anything about it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's another legal standard called qualified immunity that basically makes the threshold for being able to hold a cop civilly liable for their actions to be so much higher than a regular person. But yeah, you were saying that we were all brought up with these cop shows, Law and Order, and NYPD Blue, and there's hundreds of the shows out now, But yeah, that cultural conditioning, we have basically a form of Stockholm, a sociological version of Stockholm syndrome, and basically the blind subservience to perceived authority is eroding our civil liberties. And I believe that it's incumbent on the citizens to, if you don't flex your rights, you're going to lose them. That's why it's so important for the rabble-rousers to exist. That's why it's so important for the people that push limits, the people that say, no, I won't comply. It's very important for those people to exist in our society and be thriving in our society, because we'll all be diminished. Our civil liberties and our civil rights will be diminished if it wasn't for people out there pushing the limits,
I agree. I definitely agree. Mike, as we're coming close to the end of our shared time here today, are there any points that you feel you would like to touch on that we haven't actually explored yet? Is there anything you would like the listeners to know, to understand, to know about you personally? Anything at all?
I just to get back to what I just said, I feel it's incumbent on the citizenry to make the world a better place. The average person, your butcher, your baker, your candlestick maker, your bus drivers, your cab drivers, your road workers. There is no saviors. We are caught up in a society that believes that charisma and power and just a few people that are the elect chosen few are going to be able to be foisted into a position of power and authority, and things are going to get better. No. The only people that can save the American people is the American people. That's why I founded this organization of people that films the police. I'm doing my little part of civil engagement. So some people on the right think Trump is going to save them. I think that's the mentality of a drunk child. And people before Trump, they thought Obama was going to be some kind of a savior. I think that is the logic of mental illness. What is crazy is continually doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Yeah. Democrats, Republicans, people on the left, people on the right practice their civil engagement, and they go out and vote once a year in this huge ritual of, that we get all caught up in. 3 or 4 months before we start voting, everybody starts to get geared up, and the Democrats go at each other against the Republicans, and they all have a big public fight. And
my team against your
nothing
team.
Ever changes.
Yeah, right. But it does take the public awareness and funnels it into the game, the my team against your team, and it's going to be different this time, and it's all your fault. It's your fault. And whatever, right? But it does fulfill that distraction.
Yeah, exactly. You know what they call that in psychology? They call it displacement. If in couples therapy, if a couple gets sent to a psychiatrist, or psychologist, and they're trying to have the husband, stop cheating, and he says, "Oh, it's her fault. She's not nice enough to me, and she doesn't cuddle me, and it doesn't make me want to think about sex, so I have to have sex with all these other people." It's called displacement. That's what the American people are doing when they go out and they vote. It's the Democrats' fault. It's the Republicans' fault. It's the fault of people who don't vote. No, the only saviors for the American people is the American people. So, I'm not saying everybody should run out and do cop watching, because that would be ridiculous, but everybody needs to integrate something into their life to bring some positive change into the world, because that's who's going to save the American people. It's incumbent on us, and that's the only way things will change for the better. So I think that's all I really, want to say to your listeners, aside from, if you're interested in doing what I'm doing, our police accountability, do check out Mike Bluehair on YouTube. Check out FTP, Film the Police Portland, on Facebook. Contact me, and I can help you start one of these chapters. And let's get her done. Let's bring some police accountability into the world. But yeah, I just thank you for the opportunity to be here and speak with you. And I really like the intelligent questions you asked. And a lot of people, don't have a clue about the subculture of police accountability. And I thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with your listeners about that.
Oh, thank you, Mike. And seriously, on a personal level, I thank you for the work that you're doing. I thank you for the blood, sweat, and tears that obviously go into this kind of work. And then on a non-personal, but I guess still personal level, I'm thanking you for the entire country, because we need this kind of work, and we need more people like you. This, once upon a time, was a great nation. Some people would argue it's still a great nation. I argue that it has the potential to be a great nation, but that we've fallen far from the ideal.